Agent Recon writer, filmmaker, star, and I looked on X just 2 minutes ago, and it says five films, five feature films in 12 years. For filmmakers who are starting out in the business, what was the unlock for you as far as just putting out that really prodigious clip of five films in 12? That's pretty much unheard of. What's the key? What was the key for you in your journey?
I mean, my first film took me a long time. Took me 6 years, nights and weekends, until I was able to go full time. And then once I hit the first movie, it was like, okay, I want to do more movies than, every 2 years, basically. So rather than try to develop a long 6 years for features normally, I really found a way to just work with financiers, work with investors, and just get to the next project. And it's about getting it done. Agent Recon was a 10-month from production to post-production finish. It was insane. I worked insane hours, but it's just about getting it done, being efficient, and pursuing my passion.
On pursuing your passion, also your Bill, can you just talk to our listeners who are not familiar? They're just going to start out with Agent Recon. This is a whole world that you've been building for almost the past decade. Can you talk about its inception and where do you see this universe moving forward? Because it's a very ambitious world you are creating and moving forward with.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to do something original. There's a lot of reboots, there's a lot of sequels of things from the past, and I grew up on zombies, vampires, and aliens movies, and just a lot of action. And you know all the rules essentially. Zombie, shoot him in the head, and everything. So when I came up with Agent Intelligence, which was originally called Agent, it's a really small movie, very small budget, five people out in the desert. I really just started from the idea where, and this is a funny story. Me and a friend, we went out to the desert to shoot weapons. We literally did this, and it was super fun. But then I was like, "Ooh, it's kind of eerie and scary out here, wide open desert. What if something happened?" And then my mind just went, and I was like, "Okay, cool. I can bring in all these things that I'm passionate about. I can do some cool stuff." And then suddenly, this movie, came together, and the first one came out on Hulu. Like, so I shot it within like a year, and then from there, it started getting traction. And we brought in Michael Dorn for Agent Revelation. So that's the second sequel. And you start learning more about my main character, Jim Young, who, he's developing these powers. He's finding out more about who he is, and he's introduced to this world, this kind of secret conspiracy of what's going on behind the scenes, why the world is so crazy. And yeah, and that one did well. That one went to Paramount and Showtime. And so for the next one, then I'm like, all right, let's take it to the next level. Let's do it. So every time I'm adding more value, I'm adding more story, I'm adding more action to each piece. And now, funny, Mrs. Norris said, Derek, you have a trilogy. And I'm like, yeah, I do. So it's really been about that. It's just been like having fun, trying to do the best work that I can, and taking each and every piece that I get, any kind of support that I get to the next level. So, if you watch you and you when you watch Agent Recon, watch it. And what I want people to know is, look at the potential, look what I'm trying to do. And that's what you're doing when you go out to watch it, is you're supporting me and encouraging me to continue on. So yeah.
So Derek, I'm way older than you. I'm in my early 50s. So my situation with Mark Singer, I'm sure you've heard this before. With Mark Singer, Chuck Norris, I grew up on the Missing in Action films, Code of Silence. I grew up as a kid watching that stuff, Beastmaster, V, the series. Now you're a different generation. What was your personal connection as a movie fan to these two legends? Was it as deep as mine, or was I just want to know your different POV from a different generation and what they mean to you as a not just as a filmmaker, but a storyteller, but as also a cinephile.
You're older older than me, but you're not that much older than me. But thank you though. I'll take it. Because I'm a career changer. I started out in tech. I worked at Google, and then I worked as this producer at CNN. So I really had to make a big leap to become a filmmaker, and it's almost like just starting over, really just starting from ground zero, and proving myself. But honestly, like I grew up on movies. Like V was one of my favorite TV series. That was like the biggest budget sci-fi series like ever. Beastmaster was on like cable and TV like all the time. I think I watched Beastmaster 50 times. You're flipping around, you're looking for something. I don't know if it was that. Maybe it was that I was a little young for that, but
I was doing that.
you know, I watched Mark Sing. You got to get up. You got to get off the couch, not anymore. Um, but what I want to do is really you'll see that this movie has a lot of action, and you'll see that this movie has it is not as let's say adult. It's not as gratuitous as some other movies are. It has a good story. It has a lot of action. It's entertaining. But I don't go to the places that are necessary. I think you can watch this with with your kid. Maybe not your 5-year old, but I think 10 or 11-year old. It really depends on you. Maybe you should watch it first, but this is something you can get excited about because, I'm a fan of Chuck Norris, and I was a fan of Mark Singer. So cinema for me is like a movie that you can watch with together with people that you can get excited about. That's what cinema is about for me. Because
Mhm.
now there's a lot of films where you can watch on your phone and you're just kind of feeding yourself these stories. And like some are good and some are not. But for me, like if something is worthy of being in the cinema to go to a theater, that's what it's about. You want to go with your best bud, or you want to go with your kid, one of those. So.
Yeah,
And
AJ.
by the way, the movie is mixed in the theater. And we shot on the Arri Alexa, which are super expensive cameras. I did not hold back. We shot on the set of American Sniper, like Rebel Moon, like Zack Snyder took over the set, so I couldn't shoot there, and I was waiting to shoot there. And I have this small little indie project, but like I see his set like on the hill, and there's like lumber there. So
Look, I think the really interesting thing about Agent Recon is they actually, without giving too much away, a huge part of the movie, the narrative is set within the execution of the operation. That's hard to do when everyone you're taught on. It's like usually scripts are 120 pages and there's so many different setups. There are different setups, but it's one just locked in operation. Was that always your intent? And as far as creating the story, which I thought was really cool, it's all set in this one situation and it's exploring all the ins and outs of it. Was that the appeal for you as far as the story goes?
yeah, I mean um, well, firstly, Jim Cameron, I'm a huge fan of Jim Cameron, and I'm a huge fan of James McTiernan. So Predator and Aliens, right? Like the premise is the same. We go on a mission and we encounter something we hadn't seen before, and really that's that's the overarching part of how tension is really well created. So one of the things I talk about with my crew, is like, when you see the Terminator for the first time, um, you're like, you don't know that. Now, when we see Terminator 2 or whatever, we're like, yeah, 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 it's Arnold, he's a robot. But before that, imagine during the 80s, you're like, what is this? Who's this creature? Who's this guy who's like, give me your bike and your boots, and who is this guy? And it's sort of this revealing, and so there's this tension of these colliding stories. And that's the same thing. I mean, the premise is very simple, but uh, what I want people to feel during the movie is that I'm guiding you through this place. You're not going to know everything. You're not going to know like exactly what's happening, but the information will be there and it'll be revealed. And that's sort of the navigation of this story. But very simple premise is, a group of Marines go on a desert. I mean, sorry, go on a mission, and they go to this base, and because there's the energy disturbance in New Mexico.
So I think moving forward with your career, you mentioned McTiernan, and he's just a great filmmaker, and he's directed during his heyday a lot of big budget films, but they have their own vision and character. Is that what you want to step towards? Like just a bigger budget, bigger crew? Has this always been your ambition, maybe even 10 years ago, as far as what you wanted to prove to people what you can do on a certain budget and to upscale it? Is that your big grand plan, maybe 5, 10 years down the road?
Yeah, I mean, if Sylvester Stallone calls me and says, "Hey, Expendables 5, let's go. You can direct it and you can be a part of it." I'll be like, "All right, sure," like I love that. Um, any of those, I mean, that's the thing. It's like I'm not I'm not like old franchise like agnostic. I'm not like, "Oh, I don't want to be a part of that," but I think it's really important we bring something new and something like something that people don't expect and a perspective. I think I can bring an international perspective. I mean, I lived in Hong Kong for like 50 to 20 years. I've traveled all over the world. I'm American though, but I think like that's also something that I bring, that I'm not just um, you know I'm not just from one um, perspective. I've seen a lot of people and seen how they behave. I'm a studier of life. I'm a studier of philosophy. I love action, by the way. That's why I'm doing action movies. It's not because I'm thrown into it. It's because I grew up on it, and I study martial arts, and um, so it's really about that, is bringing those perspectives to make something original. And so like this is an audition. I personally think this is an audition of what I can do with a great cast and it's a very modest budget. It's a very humble budget, but I didn't hold back. I went all the way. Like I said, those cameras were expensive. The sets expensive, everything. Um, and we brought, and Quiver is releasing it domestically. Millennium, who did the Expendables, they're releasing it internationally. So hope people understand that, that's the level we're going, and that's where we're headed.
Well,
Come
is it
along for
cool?
the ride.
I know you have so many things as a director to do, but is it kind of cool just to have people like Mark Singer and Chuck Norris at your side making the movie with you? I mean, you're a very professional person. A part of you is a fan, but how beneficial is it to have people of that level help support your project?
Man, first, I think I never really was a believer in, let's say, cast, and that's the way Hollywood movies are made. Um, but honestly, like maybe it was that was sort of my development of my craft, is that like I do believe that there's a lot of great actors out there, especially in Hollywood. I mean, there's just a lot of great actors, so competitive. But someone like Chuck Norris on one end of the spectrum, who's like he's not even just famous, he's ultra famous. Like kids know who he is. Um, the fact that he got behind this for the script it's a huge endorsement of my skills, of what I've worked towards over 12 years, is really just to hit the pavement and grind and try to be the best I can. And just the way then when you work with him, like just the way he's everything in a star that you would want. And I've worked with different celebrities, but and stars, but he not only is a great actor and can move, but he's a great person to work with. He's saying like, whatever you need. You want me to do it again? Let's do it again. So from day one, when I first met him, he said to me, "You remind me of myself when I was, starting out and making indie movies." And I was like, holy cow, that
That's
kind of
amazing.
energy, that kind of positivity, that that takes you further, because it's all in your mind when you're creating something. It's the energy on the set for everybody. That's so exciting. Um, Mark Singer, on the other end of the spectrum, people probably don't know this. He's like like a Shakespeare theatrically trained, like does a lot of plays and did the tame like he started out on the Taming of the Shrew and then moved into the Beastmaster. Like he's been such and a mentor in terms of being a leading man. And he was coaching me. He was giving me tips, but he wasn't like, hey, do this, or he wasn't a jerk about it. He was just like, he's coming up with ideas, and we had a great time. We had a great time, and that was the first time meeting him, and we've become great friends. But the things that he said to me were just, I mean, so inspiring. And that's maybe where I'm becoming ready to take on you know um, these level of projects, but also with great. I'm also a comic book guy. With great power comes great responsibility, right? Is that just because they're getting behind me doesn't mean that I want to take advantage of or exploit the goodwill that they've created by working with me. And then the movies that I'm putting out, I want to create good stuff for other people too. I want to entertain, and I think maybe that's the flavor that people are looking for.
Derek, thank you so much for your time. And very quickly, as you're leaving, we're talking about film as education. After people watch Agent Recon, can you refer them to maybe a movie that really influenced you as a filmmaker moving forward? Like maybe you take out the Blu-ray from your house and you watch it over and over again for inspiration as a filmmaker. And what is this movie and why does it speak to you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, like Aliens, and Predator were two of my super favorite movies. Like I said, those are very high budget, high level, high bar films, but I could watch those like over and over again.
Okay.
Uh, I think by the way, I think earlier I might have gotten the name wrong with James McTiernan because I know he did Die Hard.
Yeah, John.
But Die
Yes.
Hard's one of my
Yeah.
favorite too.
Yeah, cool.
But I could watch those a million times.
Yeah.
Chuck Norris movies,
Code of Silence. Yeah.
Octagon,
Octagon. Yes.
Code of Silence. That's one
Yes.
that's rated. Octagon's one of my favorites just because it's kind of a ninja movie.
Yeah.
Um,
I haven't seen Good Guys Wear
so
Black yet. I haven't seen Good Guys Wear Black yet. That was directed by Ted Post, and Ted Post directed Go Tell the Spartans with Singer. So one day I want to see Good Guys Wear Black down the road. Um, by the way, Sam is calling me to leave now. Just wanted to see before you go. You said you're a comic book fan. Do you still have the boxes at your house? Do you have all those comic book? I mean, do you still collect a lot of comics? Do you have boxes in your home filled with comics?
the answer is yes, but the funny thing is, I think I probably have Wolverine #1, and I don't even know where it is. It's in a plastic comic book at my house, and my parents' house, and because I live so far away, I live in Hong Kong. It's just I could rarely even go there. But for me, comic books were just you had the comic book stand, and you just
Yeah.
flipped it around, and you kind of picked 75 cents, a dollar.
7-Eleven. Yeah.
So yeah, X-Men, Avengers.
Spidey maybe. Yeah.
I think. Sorry,
Oh, like Spidey
what?
and all Marvel stuff. I Marvel stuff.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course. No,
Yeah.
but actually, honestly, I'm a Superman guy.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah.
D- Derek, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Really enjoyed Agent Recon.
Thank you. Hey, love chatting with you about it. And go out and see it, everybody.
All right. Take care. Thank you, Sam. Take care.
Okay. Hey, thanks for spending time. Let's
All right.
chat again, or just keep in touch. All right.
Definitely, man. Love your
Nice to
stuff.
meet you.
Nice to meet you, Derek. Take care.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
appreciate it.
For sure.